This is presented by HPS Trade, Japanese freight forwarder in Thailand. Hello, it's Iino. This time, I would like to explain the process flow for air shipment, which is another method for transporting cargo, along with sea shipment. First, when you hear the term trade, you may have a strong image of a heavily loaded vessel traveling overseas, but a variety of products are exported and imported by air every day. In terms of volume, over 90% of cargo is said to be transported by sea, but from a cost point of view, 30% of cargo is transported by air for import and export. Air shipment provides a huge impact on the global economic activities. In addition to this, the cost of air shipment is said to be several times higher than sea shipment. However, the best advantage is being able to transport cargo quickly. Other advantages are, it can provide an appropriate environment when transporting fresh food, medical products and sensitive equipment. Also, it can transport quickly, so that the products can be delivered to the market sooner. These advantages are special characteristics of air shipment. When exporting products using air shipment, the manufacturer first decides the cargo dispatch schedule, and then indicates delivery time for the overseas customer. At the same time, the exporter will select their freight forwarder, and ask them to book a flight. After that, information such as dispatch date, the date which they wish to book a flight, contents of the products, weight and delivery destination will be provided to the freight forwarder. Also, based on the contents of the products, other required documentation, such as invoice, packing list, shipping instruction called SI will be provided to the freight forwarder by the exporter. Then, according to the date of the flight, the cargo will be delivered to warehouse of the freight forwarder or the packing company, which is located near the airport. There are some processes involved before the cargo is loaded onto the aircraft, after the cargo is delivered to the warehouse. In terms of the air shipment schedule, they often set a schedule of the cargo delivery on the same day of the flight, or one day prior. It is not unusual to receive a request from an exporter that they have urgent cargo and they request, the product dispatched from factory today needs to be loaded onto the next day flight. After the cargo is delivered to the freight forwarder's warehouse, there are some processes which need to be completed to export the air shipment as follows. Explosive inspection, cargo weighing. Attach the label called airway bill. Packing process if necessary. First, explosive inspection for all air shipment is mandatory for security purposes. However, if the exporter is an AEO, which is referred to as specified consignor, who has good security control and high compliance, they are exempt from explosive. Secondly, the label needs to be attached when the cargo is brought into the airline to identify which aircraft it needs to be loaded onto. The label is created based on information such as the number of airway bill and the destination. If the cargo is categorized as dangerous goods, a hazard label of the content may be required. In terms of packing, the product needs to be completely wrapped before the cargo transports is requested to the airline. The cargo will be packed with carton, pallet or a wooden box, before being collected from the warehouse. Export custom clearance is carried out once the cargo is delivered to the customs warehouse. The customs warehouse is an authorized domestic location used to store overseas cargo. The custom clearance is conducted at the customs warehouse, as once the export clearance permit has cleared, the cargo will be treated as overseas cargo instead of domestic cargo. Export custom clearance is declared to the custom, based on the information on the invoice and packing list, which are sent by the exporter using the system called EDI. They declare the exporter, the importer, the destination, the classification number of the product and its information, Incoterms, and the invoice price to receive the export permit. Then, once the export permit has cleared, the cargo is moved to the airline's storage shed. The storage shed is a temporary bonded area, where they keep cargo before it is loaded onto an aircraft, or soon after cargo is unloaded. Cargo cannot be loaded onto the aircraft as it is. Before it's loaded onto the aircraft, it will be consolidated onto a large pallet or container called ULD. The deadline of cargo to be brought into an airline is called cut time. It depends on the airline or flight schedule, but they are normally scheduled a few hours before the flight departure. This is because there are some processes to complete once the cargo is received at the storage shed, before the cargo is loaded onto the aircraft. Receive cargo, load onto ULD, and load it into the aircraft. Now, the freight forwarder will set the transport air freight, based on the invoice information from the exporter, and issue the consolidated airway bill, called house airway bill, to the exporter. At the same time, master airway bill is issued to the freight forwarder by the airline. The details of the airway bill are explained in the another video. Please check out the link in the comment section. Once these processes are complete, the cargo is loaded into the booked flight, and the aircraft departs to the destination. Then, direct flights or transit flights will arrive at the importing country, and the cargo is unloaded into the storage shed. Until the permit has cleared for the import custom clearance, the cargo will be kept at the storage shed. ULD will be removed, and each cargo will go through checks to ensure that it has not been damaged during the transfer, and the number of the items is correct. By the way, this process to open cargo is called break bulk. Once the airline informs the local freight forwarder arrival notice, the freight forwarder or the designated custom clearance agency will process the import custom clearance. The required documentation will be handed from the exporting freight forwarder to the local freight forwarder, and then to the custom clearance agency. For import custom clearance, EDI is also used to declare customs. Once the import authorization is issued, the cargo is loaded onto a truck as domestic cargo from the bonded area, and this will be delivered to the importer's address on the documentation or the designated address. Just to add, if the importer is authorized AEO, they are able to obtain the import authorization outside of the bonded area for import custom clearance. Now, let's summarize today's topic. As I explained in the video, there are some processes involved before flight departure. Once the product dispatch is confirmed, the exporter asks the freight forwarder to make arrangements of the air shipment, and the freight forwarder arranges the cargo collection, weighing, packing, custom clearance arrangement, and delivery arrangement to the airline. Then, once the flight has arrived, there will be processes of import, loading and delivery. The required documentation will be provided from the exporter to the freight forwarder to use at export custom clearance. Based on the content of the documentation, the freight forwarder will issue house airway bill, and they will send the documentation to the local freight forwarder or the custom clearance agency for the import custom clearance purpose. Due to the characteristics of the air shipment, speed is required on all processes. Each process is often divided between department staff and different personnel, so collaboration is required to ensure that mistakes are not made on the documentation. Accuracy and speed are both very important parts of the process. That's all for today. Thank you.
In this channel, I explain about international logistics knowledge for your better understanding. I hope this video will be a good support for your logistics job. If you have any shipment from Thailand or to Thailand, please feel free to contact me Iino-san anytime. Also, I'm very motivated to keep updating these videos. If you subscribe, press good or comment anything. Well, thank you. See you next time.